Welcome back to Call Me by Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful or memorable video game from a particular moment in their life. This is a podcast about what makes video games special to different people. Anything that my guest or I might plug on this here episode, you can find links to that crap in the show notes. So whether you want to follow our Patreon, subscribe, throw us a few bones, which is the best way to support us, and also get bonus video game podcasts for your support, or you feel like following someone's social media or any other, just sort of a lawless natured stuff that they feel like throwing out today, scroll down in the show notes, whether you're on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, and you'll find those links nicely organized by yours truly. Speaking of the Patreon, by the point in time that this episode comes out, we've already decided our next Games Club series. At this moment, I can't say what that is because voting hasn't ended. And the race is pretty tight. But it's either going to be us covering on a weekly basis, chapter by chapter, Batman Arkham Asylum or Yakuza 0. On next week, you'll know what that is. And as you know, you can find our new weekly Games Club episodes on our Patreon at the $5 tier. So check us out there. Consider supporting us, whether you want to listen to those episodes or not. I think it's worth it. That'll do it for the housekeeping. And why don't I introduce my very special guest for today's episode? Please welcome writer, director, and producer of this dang podcast, Jeremy Schmidt.
Hello! Thanks so much for having me back, Connor McCabe.
You are so welcome, my dear boy. I listened to about the first 10 minutes of your original appearance on the show before this started. I should have listened to it like this morning when I was walking around and had the time. Instead, I'm listening to frickin' Patrick's podcast. Like a GD fool over here.
Yeah, that's foolish to do.
But in those first 10 minutes, so much was illuminated to me. That was the 18th episode of the podcast we had done, so my 18th episode hosting, basically. I really think you can hear not the nerves, but the confidence that had yet to be built in my voice.
Sure. Yeah.
The way I say, and I've listened to some of those early episodes before when I've had people return, I even say things different. Like I say, welcome back to Call Me By Your Game. Like your, Y-E-R. I don't know what that's about. At some point, I must have made a conscious decision.
Call me by you are game.
Call me by you are game for anything I want to do. But even just in that short amount of time, buddy, it was just so funny listening to us talk because so much has changed, and at the same time, nothing at all.
It's kind of, we'll get into it when we discuss the game that I brought on today, because it coincides with a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I think it coincides with both of our podcasts launching in some kind of in a general sense.
Yes, definitely.
In also that all of these things happened like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
8-9 years ago, almost a decade. At some point, we will look back and it will have been a decade. Can you believe that?
Crazy. The year 2028, when hopefully you just end your show.
And end my life.
No, that
end my
let's keep
show
around.
and end my life, listeners. Vote now if you want me to end my life in 2028.
That's not something that you have voting privileges for at any paid tier on our Patreon. It's only for the Games Club. Don't let him trick you. Suddenly, wow, we've never had such an influx of supporters. They're just commenting on a message to me. I vote yes?
Yes, everyone's just voting yes on the Discord, yes on the Patreon.
You opened up this can of worms. Yes, this game that we're going to talk about does coincide with a lot of the change that was going on for us and the things that we were starting around the time, at least in the wake of me, or a little before I started my podcast. But I already introduced you a little bit. People who listen to the show or the network or are fans of ours are very familiar with you. You produce, you edit, you did the original music for this show, which people have already heard and they'll hear throughout. And you this is not your first appearance on the show. Before we talk about more stuff, I'm going to run through every episode of this podcast you've been on because I have a list here.
Okay. Oh, great. Oh, this is great.
But what I want to do also is give you a chance if you want to share anything more about yourself with the listener, anything you've been up to, and if you have anything you feel like plugging while you're here.
No, if you don't listen to Video Games, a Comedy Show, you should check out that podcast because it's so much fun. And Connor McCabe, your best friend and mine, is on that show a lot. And again, I'm sure we will plug the Patreon again at some point, but we do so much great work over there. A lot of our old stuff you can hear documented on Super NPC Games Club, which is a free podcast that you can get anywhere podcasts can be found, and you can hear more of us talking about games there and at great length, like particular games at great length. So it's just it's an honor to have been doing this with you for so long.
and you, my liege.
So I'm happy to be back on this show because it feels like a milestone of sorts.
Hey, of sorts it is. I echo all of your sentiments. It's as much as we might tease and make fun, it is really cool that we're still doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And it is also very surprising that it has been this long. So I'll put, there's already links to everything you just plugged in there. I got links to your podcast, and I've got a link to the Super NPC Games Club free feed as well. Again, I was talking about the Games Club series we might have coming up. We just finished covering Fire Emblem Awakening as of the time of this episode's release. It will be about to finish on the Patreon. That's behind a paywall, but our Legacy series, basically everything from a year ago and before, is airing on the free feed. Death Stranding is about to complete, which means, Jeremy, after that, our Control Games Club is about to be on there.
Oh, and that's a good one, folks.
It's a good one from just about a year ago. Your history on the podcast is extensive, just as a guest, and you've been a host multiple times.
And sometimes a host.
Let me go down the list. Of course, your first appearance, episode 18, where we discussed, at the time, maybe it's still the case, your favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy VII. We did this like 2 months before the remake came out, or part one.
Before it came out?
Yes. It was
Oh my.
This was also the final episode that we did in person for this podcast. Before the pandemic hit.
That's right. Yeah, because we were making videos simultaneously, like little playthrough, little gameplay videos.
Yes. Those were very fun.
Guest.
They still get
they were fun.
Views on the YouTube channel for this podcast.
In fact, I think your Arkham Asylum episode was with Vic Michaelis, who is now a dropout star. So that's how long we've been doing this.
That is one that you probably won't be surprised still gets hits.
Gets some views. Sure.
Our friends who are micro celebs and whatnot, but that was so much fun. Yeah, there's a great video of you and I playing probably 30 minutes or less of Final Fantasy VII on there.
Do we play the beginning? I bet we played the beginning.
Pretty sure we did. I didn't review that, but I'd be willing to bet it's just we're seeing the fight against the scorpion boss.
I bet that's where we've ended.
Yes. So, I mean, even after your first episode, it was a historic one. Never recorded again in person, thanks to old COVID-19. Then, your next regular appearance on the show... Well, actually, I missed one, I'm realizing. You hosted an episode for me that summer. You hosted one of the parts of the Call Me By Your Ballgame original series where I discussed... a little game called MVP Baseball 2005. You filled in to ask me questions about it.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm also remembering you hosted the episode where I was officially a guest on episode 100 of the podcast, where I discussed Microsoft 3D Movie Maker.
Right.
Then your next appearance on the show was 39 episodes later, episode 139, where I brought the top 10 favorite games of all time format to the podcast. We're still doing that.
Oh yeah, you're still doing that? And you're still doing that?
There are a lot. Yeah, I know. They're more rare. I was doing them a lot more frequently, but truth be told, it's hard to organize a podcast where I get 3 people who are already friendly with each other to come and do that.
Right.
I think I did one at some point, either at the beginning of this year or the end of last year. But you were on that as well with Teo Yang and July Diaz.
Dang.
Now for your co-op appearances.
Okay.
And I believe you have to be the record holder on this outside of me. I'm just going to list them kind of rapid fire.
Yeah. Let's do
Co-op
it.
episode 4, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, the remake.
Yes.
Co-op episode 16, Deathloop. Co-op episode 21, Portal. Co-op episode 23, your first time hosting the series, Elden Ring.
Oh, nice.
You actually were on, I mean, you only missed one. You're almost on 6 straight. You're on co-op episode 24, Portal 2, co-op episode 25, Neon White, co-op episode 26, Mario Kart Double Dash.
Oh my goodness.
Co-op episode 31, Mother 3. That one just hit the free feed a couple months ago.
And that one is particularly good.
It's awesome. I really re-listened to the whole thing when it came out. Shout out to our buddy Mike Steele. You hosted again on co-op episode 35 discussing Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Co-op episode 39, we discussed Super Monkey Ball 2. On co-op episode 50, you hosted again. You host the Souls episodes. You hosted the episode about Shadow of the Erdtree, the DLC for Elden Ring.
Yeah, that's right.
And then in basically the last year or so, you were also on co-op episode 54, where we discussed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, co-op episode 55, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And then this one is incorrect. That's right. Co-op episode 62, where we discussed Sword of the Sea, Yumi in July.
Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. I don't remember Deathloop at all.
You don't?
At all. Like, I don't even remember playing that game.
That's
let alone
amazing.
Talking about that. I would love to replay Deathloop. That game that game's probably really good.
I loved it. I think it was like second in the running for my game of the year that year. I feel like people really liked it when it came out, but it does have its critiques have grown in the years since, but I don't know if they hold up because I also, Jeremy, haven't played it in almost 5 years.
And also hearing this list makes me think we got to do Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 here pretty soon.
I think we do have to do that at some point. We got to continue the series.
Yeah.
So, you've got a historic run on the podcast.
Amazing. I also should do a Bloodborne episode. I'm realizing that you don't have a co-op for Bloodborne, and it would be nice to. I think with all those Souls games, I have the same crew, which is always Alec Robbins and Jacques Maladou.
And you've had a couple other people before. One person I remember on Dark Souls. Do you know who your other guest was? Because it's someone who's I'm friends with this person through
Matt.
you.
No,
close. Max Sosna-Spear.
Oh,
yes.
Great!
But you
great.
You did have Matt on the Erdtree episode.
I did. I thought Matt was one of them. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, well, I should do a Bloodborne one. That would be awesome.
Dude, twist my arm anytime you want to do it. But that history long on the show. Even when you're not on the show, you're contributing to it by sending me episodes and producing and editing it every week for me, including the co-op series. But we're going to get into a little bit of your history with your more recent history with video games, since this is your second episode as the primary guest. But before we do, I would love for you to tease what we have coming on the main event, and please, Jeremy, call me by your game.
Okay, well, in the main event, we're going to be talking about Super Mario Odyssey. It's kind of how he does it, right? Odyssey.
He does. He really hangs on that in
Odyssey.
In the menu, I think.
In the menu, I think. Yeah, Super Mario Odyssey.
The YouTube viewers at home are getting to look at Mario in his beautiful cultural appropriation outfit.
In his most canceled garb.
Yes. But he's Italian, so it's like almost okay for him to be wearing like a poncho and
but
a sombrero.
But this guy, not okay at all.
No, yeah, that guy is Irish.
That guy.
I believe they're called the Calavera skull. He's Irish, actually.
Yeah, he's actually Irish. Sorry,
Yes.
he's Irish. I am thrilled to be talking about this video game. I felt it was apropos for a lot of reasons that we'll get into, but also that no one had ever done this on your show before, I thought was very interesting, actually.
Yes.
When I was looking through your episodes trying to figure out an episode a video game to bring on here, I was checking to see what had been covered in the past. Like, you've done so many, I just can't remember them all off the top of my head. So I was looking up stuff like Wave Race 64. That was a close one, but you'd done it. I almost chose Pilot Wing 64.
Ooh.
And you haven't done that one yet.
Correct.
And then I almost did Bloodborne, but Bloodborne had been done before. I almost said Dark Souls. Dark Souls hasn't been done before,
True.
but there's a co-op of Dark Souls. Anyway, so I was happy to land on this one, and yeah.
I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun during the main event later. But as I said, we're going to talk about your more recent history with games. I want to highlight essentially the period of time from when you first came on the show back in early 2020 up until now. The first question I want to start with is more of a broad one, and that is, what sort of changes have you seen in your habits as a gamer since then? Any big trends? It could be a console you're playing on, styles of games. What comes to mind when I ask you that?
It's wow. And also wow, you know? So much has changed. I think back to around the time we were goofing off making our first episode together of this show. And
sitting knee to knee.
Knee to knee. Sharing a mic, sharing lips. I think that back then I was, if your video game liking capability, imagine it's like layers of soil. Like,
okay,
there's like this topsoil,
yes,
and then there's the I'm playing a lot of Pocopia right now, so I'm soil pilled. So
not
then you
soiled,
have like,
but soil pilled,
not soiled, soil pilled. Then you have like dry dirt maybe, and then below that you have like rock, and then you have like bedrock, and then you have like dinosaur fossils. I think that I was probably somewhere around the topsoil or the next layer of like, you know, discovery of video games and appreciation of video games. You know, I was all id. I was all just like, if I liked a game, I liked it, and if I didn't like it, I didn't like it, and I probably didn't have the words for why necessarily. And since then, my appreciation and love for the medium has grown to I think I'm down in like the fossil town now. I'm mining gold ore, baby, in video games. Like I now watch like developer videos and stuff on YouTube as opposed to just like top 10 GameCube games. Now my YouTube consumption is more like, how did they make Shadows of the Empire? You know, like,
oh sure,
really getting into the weeds of the art form. I would say I'm more in the weeds now than ever. My collection of games at the ready that I can play has grown. It's obviously so substantially. We always talk about how we have a problem, and our problem is we cannot stop buying retro games. And
kind of feels like we've both done a good job of sort of curbing that somehow, some way.
I think that, yeah, I do think that there was a time when I was just so excited about stuff that I was buying up random stuff, and then I kind of honed in exactly the kinds of things I want to collect and want. So now it's more manageable. But consoles, it's like I needed to have every single console that they've ever made. And Connor, I achieved that goal.
Ooh.
I have them all now. At least all the ones that I feel like I could play in multiple lifetimes. So
yes.
But to another side of your question, I think, is really interesting, which is that culture has changed since I last answered this question, and the way games are played have changed, and the medium has changed. And back when we were first starting our podcasts, I still feel like the old guard of video game hobbying was very much like a Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out and everyone plays it. And there's a monoculture around Red Dead Redemption 2. And it's not exactly that cut and dry. There's maybe a couple of games in there. It's like that and Super Smash Brothers for the Switch, you know? So it's like Smash Ultimate. So it's like there was a strong bond and connection between all of us who played video games, especially in our little community, in that we all pretty much played and experienced the same games. Now, it is no longer like that. So I am playing a lot of stuff now that you'll never play, you'll never get to. You probably heard
and
of.
That's because you're keeping them from me.
That's because there's only one available, and I'm hoarding them. But that goes with everybody in our community. So while it is interesting that we all have our very specific niches and tastes met, we are not always able to discuss and get excited and crowd around a game as much. Nintendo still has that ability in some cases, but I don't even think you're playing Pokopia right now, right?
I'm not playing Pokopia.
See, that's a huge thing, right? Because I'm playing Pokopia, and it feels like the world's playing Pokopia, but my very closest friends, none of them are, except for maybe Patrick. Maybe Patrick's playing Pokopia.
He can't stop playing it. Yeah, Patrick and Kristen are pilled. I wonder if Matt is pilled, but
I see Matt's on playing Pokopia sometimes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, you make a couple of really great points here, Jeremy. When you first came on, we were sort of in the wake, already starting to see the ripple effects of how gaming had really changed in the previous few years. It had changed because there are probably many reasons, but two that feel very distinct to me were the dawn of the Nintendo Switch, which is going to be a big thing that we discuss for your main event with Odyssey, and how indie games became so much more. That was just another huge way that they reached people, is maybe the best way to put it. It was already a huge industry and growing, but now it has exploded. And the Switch, it's an incredibly popular platform, so more of us were playing independent games.
Yep.
That was happening. We were also in the wake of live service games being just so incredibly popular. And now we've seen like the repercussions of the failure of companies trying to latch on to that trend. And sort of we're just in a very interesting time now in 2026 to see how those waves have fallen. So you're right. And so that all of that probably, giving us more things to play, giving companies more things to chase after, really has sort of, and it's a bigger trend, I think, in culture, period. But you're right. Monoculture in games is just, it's gone.
And one last final thing, too, is that game development has...
Great point.
Broken since when we started our podcasts. I don't think games were in such a uniquely fertile place. The Nintendo Switch was coming out with Marios and Zeldas in the same year, and the PlayStation 4 was felt like a monster. Just it couldn't be stopped. With all and God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn and Resident Evil 2 remake and you played all of these games like The Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy 7 remake. Now game development is hitting a wall in a way that feels like we're waiting a very, very long time in between things and when things are coming out, and It's just the landscape just kind of feels a lot different. There was an excitement, almost like a boom, a silver age or something of video games happening that I think has crested, and now we're trying to recover. I think the industry is trying to recover, trying to figure itself out.
Feels like that is especially true for the AAA space, but most notably, Sony is just they're not putting out first-party games. It takes them way too long, and I don't know if it probably has something to do with the scope of all these games and how they all have to look photoreal, but they're doing that, and Xbox is basically shooting itself in the face.
They're almost gone. And Sony is also, like a major Hollywood movie studio, finding itself like It feels like from the outside, they are so guided by the dollar, by money, that they're doing things like we don't have Blue Point anymore. We don't have Japan Studios anymore. We don't have all these things existed when we first started, and it feels like they're sort of like not as creatively fertile as when we began.
It feels to the movie industry comparison, it feels like how everything has to be such a massive hit. Otherwise, it's not worth the financial investment. And a similar thing seems to be going on in the game space for AAA developers, at least.
Again, and for AAAs only. And then like when the indie game space is where you find the real creativity, I think, now, and the real uniqueness and the newness and the hotness.
Yeah. I want to ask you too about if there have been, like, what surprises in your life, gaming-wise, come to mind? Like, has a style of game absolutely blown your socks off that you didn't expect? Has a title turned you on to a series? What comes to mind for that?
I think what comes to mind for that is the revelation of frame rate. That's a kind of a weird, different way to answer that question.
Oh, it's interesting.
But the thing that has surprised me the most is how much of like a resolution and frame rate, how sensitive I've become to those aspects of gaming, and like things like game feel and like the arcadey loop of something like that. Like those were not things that I thought I would ever be that fascinated with or like interested in, that have become more of a thing that I want more than something like, let's say, story. Like story in games used to be the thing that I chased the hardest and appreciated the most. And now that is always second to like something like, you know, gameplay and game feel specifically. So, that's really surprised me. But in terms of just like a game or a kind of game, I guess like, I don't know. I'm always surprised when things take off, like deck builders. Like that's always like that's always really crazy to me. Or like roguelikes or extraction shooters. You know, like these like very niche or specific.
Maybe some of those genres were starting to bud up when you were first on, but now are have some games who fall into those categories have been some of the greatest successes in recent memory.
100%, yeah.
Or failures in some cases.
Yeah, like not like, you know, we used to complain about, you know, for as cool as crafting in a game can be, that every game would have crafting. Used to be like something that became something we would like complain about. So yeah, surprises is
No, that's okay. You've answered this well. I want to circle back to the previous thing you were discussing when it comes to like frame rate, resolution, and game feel.
Yeah.
Like, is there, to be specific with like a game that maybe sticks out when you think about that, what is a game that is doing one of those things that fits the bill?
Well, I guess like when it comes to things like frame rate, the Nintendo Switch 2 has been really like a fascinating console in its early months of release, in how it's changed our opinion of Switch 1 games, because the console itself can run these games now at like a locked 60 frame rate with resolution boost. It's giving these games that were like we didn't even realize what we didn't like about them was that they didn't feel good to play because their frame rates were so low and dipping so much that now we get to see in a whole new light. So that's a general way of answering frame rate. But like, you know, to be a console player is to always be given the choice, always have to make the choice. Are you going to prefer resolution when you play Resident Evil or frame rate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, frame rate was something that I thought was so silly for so long. But then if you play Control, let's say Control. Control is a games club that we're about to talk about that we did a year ago that's going to be on the free feed here very soon. Control is a game that when it came out, it ran like mud. 30 frames a second, and it would dip below that when you were flying around and there was a bunch of particles on screen. Control on the Xbox Series X ran at a lock 60 frame rate. So it just changed the game. It changed how good you could be at the game, how skilled that you could be at the game. Like, it changed everything. So that's an example where, and like I have friends like Mikey Stevens, for example. Mikey Stevens claims like that he just literally doesn't care about stuff like frame rate.
Interesting.
And will play Forza Horizon, a racing game. He'll play it in 30 frames a second. I'm like, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
For this. No, but he's somebody who's very not very sensitive to that.
Sure.
To that dip, and I'm someone now who like, no, I've got to get my 60, and I notice when things come out and they're not optimized well.
Yes, I think I've been on sort of a slow roll to appreciating the things you're talking about more as well, and some of that obviously comes from being able to compare a game I maybe played, thinking of the original release of Breath of the Wild on Switch 1, and then or even Tears of the Kingdom, and then turning that on the Switch 2 and seeing what it looks like with the resolution bump and a frame rate of 60, it is butter. It's incredible. And then also, I'll play games like when we played Control, I had never played it before, so I'm playing it at like on my PC that I built at the peak, I guess, settings you could possibly do in theory. And so it's the only way I've experienced, but then I'm like, I don't know how you could do this another way.
Yeah, 1,000%. And this game got Mario Odyssey got a pretty good new coat of paint as well when the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. So, yeah, these are things that I didn't even have the words to describe before, but now definitely are things that like. You'll go back and notice like almost every game on the Nintendo 64 was 60 frames a second. That's crazy. It's like there's a history of game optimization, a story being told as time goes on. That's also very fun to track once you know what you're looking at, once you know what you're feeling in your hands. And
you with your like analog systems have the ability to experience that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah. The differences between Mortal Kombat 2 on the SNES versus the Genesis. There are some differences.
We're going to close out this segment in a second by me asking you about what you've been playing more recently, even though some of these questions even feel funny because of how frequently you and I are talking about a game, quite literally on a weekly basis in podcast form and off. But is there a game from the last 6 years, maybe not one of the more recent ones you'll discuss from like the last few months, but are there a highlight or two that you want to shout out really quick?
Oh yeah, I mean not from the last couple of months, or from
not from the last couple of months because I want to hit that at the end.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I would say, if you haven't sat down and reckoned with Hades, if you haven't sat down and really reckoned with Hades, really just sat down and made peace with Hades, you got to do that. You should do that. That's a game that you're doing yourself a disservice by not experiencing that. That's a great game. Let's see what else. Bigger. I'm trying to think of like bigger games.
And you also play so many that this is a very tough question to pick one out of the 800 you've played in the last 6 years.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh, you know what? Here's a game that I'll throw out. No one's talking about this game, but it's so fun and so crazy. But you can play Wario World now on the NSO GameCube.
That is crazy.
Dude, have you tried Wario World?
No, you've done more digging into the GameCube library there.
Yes, I have, and I will dig until that ditch is dug, baby. No, Wario World it's a really exciting, bizarre, freaky little GameCube game that you should really try out. Everyone should try. That would be so. Wario World and Hades.
games on equal playing field that are held in the same regard historically. Like, even you talking about playing that game via NSO on the Switch 2 just reminds me on how many different ways you in particular, Jeremy Schmidt, plays video games. You play stuff, you play new releases that you get physical, you play new releases that you get digital on different consoles. You emulate, you play retro games that you own. You have so many different ways that you are engaging with the medium, which is it's just varied, which is great.
Yeah, and again, it's almost like I'm doing research for nothing. It's almost like I'm doing research on a big project there is no project. But and I'll explain that by giving you an example. Like playing through all of Ocarina of Time on my N64, my N64, my 3DS, and the NSO, just to like feel what the differences are between them. There's no reason to do that, really.
Yes. There's no test. There's no
test.
No job you're gonna get from that.
No. But for whatever reason, it's so interesting to me. Like playing through, like I got my analog, a new analog console,
the 3D,
the 3D analog 3D, and played through all of Majora's Mask on that, and it was like. Yeah, like, why am I so excited to play, like, a maybe objectively worse version than the version I played most recently on the 3DS? I don't know, but it was badass. I was so happy to do it, and I learned a lot.
That's cool.
I learned a lot about Majora's Mask.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I think that for me, and this might be ADHD related, as soon as I get attached to something and it gets in my blood or something, and I become hyper fixated and hyper fascinated with it.
Yeah.
So, and those things will change. Like, it's not always video game stuff. It can be like researching a particular band or researching a particular director. But for whatever, I get really lost in the sauce very easily.
Yes.
On different hobbies.
But it's fun to nerd out like that.
It's so fun.
I understand.
It's my favorite thing, and I do think it calms down the voices, the darkness.
Good. Whatever it takes to do that.
It keeps the demons at bay.
Good. You got a big shield fending off the demons, and it's really diving into 3 ways to play Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, it's that packing a Nintendo Wii.
I love it. Lastly, I was teeing this up for a while, but what's a game that has had your attention recently that you can't wait to talk about? This could be what you're playing now, what you played 3 weeks ago. Give me one.
I almost brought on this very program Pokemon Pokopia.
I mean, you made a joke about it, but you kind of you half meant it.
I did half mean, like, I was like, that would be an awesome idea, is to bring a brand new game onto an episode of this show. It is so good, Connor. I think it's the best Nintendo Switch 2 game that's out right now.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not playing it, but I want to be.
Yeah, I think that this thing is just a freaking masterpiece. It's so good, and I hope that I think it's Koei Tecmo who made this game. I hope they get to make the next Pokemon game, the next mainline Pokemon game. That would be
sorry,
so
Game
awesome.
Freak. It's Koei Tecmo. It's taking the reins.
I hope Game Freak makes goes and does something else for a while. I think it would be so awesome, because this game is so great. It's a builder Animal Crossing game with a story. It's like it's great. It's so much fun, and I'm gonna play it as soon as I log off of this.
Oh, well, I mean, as much as I want to keep hearing about it, let's get as quick as we can get you to that point. Speaking of which, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll finally get into all things Super Mario Odyssey. So, Jeremy, I will see you on the other side. Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game! Thematically appropriate for today's episode, because I'm back with Jeremy Schmidt to talk Super Mario Odyssey. Jeremy, welcome back.
Oh, thank you again so much for having me.
You're so welcome. What we're going to do first is do a little table setting for this widely known game before we talk about your, whatever window into your life that we're going to see with it. And I do this on occasion. Normally, I type out a whole thing about this game for the history and context. I didn't do a lick. I'm just going to go off the dome on what I know about Super Mario Odyssey.
Perfect.
So without further ado, here it goes. Super Mario Odyssey is a third-person action platformer game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch in October of 2017. I believe it was October 25th on the day that the game was released.
Almost Halloween.
It was so close. For me, it's a Halloween game. And he does have a lot of costumes, so it kind of works. There we go. Super Mario Odyssey returns to the sandbox-style format of some previous 3D Mario games like Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 64. It has things in common with the Galaxy series, although I would not describe Galaxy 1 or 2 as a sandbox-style sort of open zone 3D platformer. Those are more level-based, despite being in some big levels, kind of like the 3D World series. And unless you count Bowser's Fury, which I think you should, this is the most recent full mainline 3D Mario game. Bowser's Fury is a full 3D Mario game. It's just a lot shorter. It's about 5 hours in length if you play in a completionist way. But in this game, you play as the titular Super Mario. And at the outset of the game, Bowser's trying to force Peach into a marriage. You try to stop the wedding. You get knocked off of his airship. And your hat turns into this little guy named Cappy that you can throw at characters, throw at objects, fling yourself on, transform into different, basically take over the mind of different creatures and characters you find, gain their abilities, in order to collect moons to power up your ship, the Odyssey, and save the day. It's got a bunch of different worlds, which are called kingdoms in this game, and it's considered by many to be an absolute masterpiece, possibly the greatest Mario game and 3D platformer ever. And it was met just with rousing acclaim and success. It's one of the best-selling Nintendo Switch games. By any measure you could imagine, this game did quite well. A lot of people too are still anticipating the follow-up to this game. Some of us can feel like, because some similar developers worked on Donkey Kong Bonanza for the Nintendo Switch 2, there are some things that game has in common with it. Everything from fonts to the creativity of the game.
Everything from fonts?
Truly, there are like fonts.
That's so good.
I remember playing Bonanza and being like, wow, even the letters are animating in ways that the letters animate in Odyssey. So, but there hasn't been an official full follow-up to the 3D Mario genre, well, I guess style of games. So that's where we're at now in our history. Jeremy, is there any context or history that you want to add to the discussion before we dive into your personal history?
I guess, no, you did a fantastic job, especially if that was just off the dome. Wow.
Minimize. Tab. Yeah, it was off the dome. It was.
I think I would like to add that when it came out, it had been however long, almost 20 years since Sunshine. So it was like this style of Mario game we maybe thought we would never get again. And when we finally did, it had been not 20 years, but probably whatever.
It was 15.
15.
It's a long time.
And so this return of this style of Mario game sort of did a lot to prove its value and its worth, and stake a pretty, I would say, reasonable claim that this might be the best style of 3D Mario game of all of the ones. When you take Galaxy into consideration and Super Mario 3D World into consideration, et cetera, this style is probably the best, and this one is probably the best of those styles. That's crazy. That's the best. That's the best Mario game.
I know. Its legacy looms quite large.
Yep.
It is really hard to deny its place in gaming history, not just what it did for Mario, but the fact that it probably is a better game than 64, despite you and I having a little more in our heart for that game.
That's my favorite game, I think, of all time. I cycled through like Super Mario 64, Final Fantasy 7, and Bloodborne. Those three hover around my favorites. But the one out of those three, the most pickup in play one is Super Mario 64. So that's the one I revisit the most. I play that once a year. I think it's a perfect video game. I love Super Mario 64. I love it more than this game, but this game I think is a better game.
It is amazing. It's your Super Mario 64 is up there in your top 3, sometimes top 1. It's my second favorite game, but of course, tied at the top of my list are 2 Zeldas in different styles that are tied. And I know we've promoted this a bunch, but our first ever games club in the week-to-week style was on Super Mario 64. So it's been out on the free feed for a couple of years now. Go listen to it, people. It's like a 12-part series on Super Mario 64. It's amazing. But let's get into your personal history with this game. I already know a little bit about the place that this game held for you and why, but I'm going to interview you, Jeremy, as if I don't actually know some of the answers to this. So I want to know, at the time that Super Mario Odyssey came out, were you there on day one? Had you already gotten back into gaming, or was it a bit of a delay until you got to actually play this Again, this came out in October 2017.
So, in 2017, I had around this time, started a job. I had been unemployed for the first half of 2017 and on unemployment. And it took me that entire run of unemployment to find a job. Yeah. And I finally did. And so then it took me, about a month to like catch up financially and sort of level out. But and around this time, and the Switch had come out in March, I think, right?
Yes.
So March, the Switch came out, and they put Breath of the Wild on the Wii U. So I actually played that version of Breath of the Wild. I played the Wii U version first.
I remember seeing like the menu on your Wii U gamepad because I had been at your apartment that spring, and you showed me the Sheikah Slate, like what the Sheikah Slate was meant to be.
Yeah, and so I didn't feel a rush to buy a Switch yet. Nor did I really have the money, and nor was I playing a ton of video games. Back then I was very meditatively playing like one game from beginning to end, and then I played another game. I wasn't jumping around and playing a bunch of stuff on different consoles. So by November of 2017, though, this game had come out, and it's not on the Wii U. So I knew Christmas was coming up, and I was going to have to do some traveling. So I just randomly after work one day went to Best Buy, bought a Switch, bought Mario Odyssey, and bought something else maybe.
1-2 Switch, arms.
It wasn't Breath of the Wild, and it wasn't Mario Kart, because those were gifts that I got for that Christmas.
Oh, cool.
Along with a Pro Controller. But it was, I bought Mario Odyssey, and I think it's just something, I can't remember, something else. But Mario Odyssey was, I think, the first game I played on the Switch, the year it came out. So I was about a month late to this game, and, a little late to the Switch. But, this was like that Christmas season. I played through this entire thing. I played through it visiting my parents that year, and I probably have the best gaming memory of all time. Was playing my parents and my siblings, they have Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings on the big TV, and I'm curled up in a blanket on the couch next to a fire, half watching it but half playing Mario Odyssey on my Switch. Yeah.
That is quite the cozy image there. This is very much in the weeds, but can you tell me what Best Buy you walked in and purchased this haul at?
Yes, it was the Best Buy in Westwood.
Westwood? Was that
the
where your
West
job was?
Buy. Yeah, that's where my job was. So
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, we've often met at a specific Best Buy over by us to.
That's right. I didn't get it there though.
That one I did go on opening day of the Switch to buy a micro SD, and I also bought a physical copy of 1-2 Switch that day as well.
Dang.
Because I had the Switch shipping to me from Best Buy and then Breath of the Wild from Amazon because I had like an Amazon gift card. But the other Best Buy that I've been to a lot because I used to work in Hollywood was the Best Buy on, I want to say it's like La Brea. There's a Best Buy in like Santa Monica.
Right. Over there by where Formosa Cafe used to be.
Yes.
Do you remember that Formosa Cafe?
And I picked up, this is in the weeds, but I picked up games like Super Mario Maker 2 over there. Ooh. I had to go over there to get Astro Bot for the PS5 a couple years ago because the One BIOS didn't have it. Anyway, I didn't need to know where you bought it. That's incredible. Can you take me back to your early impressions of hooking up your Switch and your first sort of dip into Odyssey?
Dude, it's so funny thinking back on getting the Nintendo Switch 1 and just like not being as like I'm so plugged in to there's no surprise, nothing surprises me. Everything's telegraphed years before it comes out. I'm always well read on every new console and device that is hitting the market. But back then, I remember getting my Switch 1 and kind of being like, I don't really know how this works.
I can't imagine that happening for you.
I don't even know. Like, I remember plugging it in and then playing it. I think I turned it on and played it portably first. Because I didn't know. Or maybe it makes you put it in the dock first. I remember not understanding how does the dock work and what does it even do? What's it for? So I believe that, that first night hooking it up, it was either I played it a bunch, handheld and then docked it and then had this wow moment where it like blipped on the TV, or it was the reverse where I like started on the TV and then played the rest like in bed, like with it close to my face. And, being just, of course, so blown away by what I was seeing and just the way that the game felt. Game feel. It's coming back. It's coming back.
Full circle. Were you living at the apartment that I was mentioning earlier?
Yes, I was living at the apartment.
With McCaller yet?
No, I hadn't moved in with McCaller. I was living with Steven, the dancer, who lived on the floor. He slept on the floor of the living room, and it was off of not Harold Street, but
Harold Way?
Carlton,
yes.
Which is crazy because the theater that me and Connor met at has an improv form called the Herald.
Yes.
And Harold Street was very close to the theater, and I would always think,
is that
did they name the street?
Wait, UCB Sunset hasn't been open that long. That can't be possible. Okay. Yeah. For the early days of you playing this game, was this something that you just like dove fully into and were playing at all hours? Were you just playing when you had the time? Yeah,
I think I was playing when I had the time. I was playing at a more reasonable pace, and I had already been kind of bit by the video game bug.
Yes,
a little before that, because once upon a time, me and Alec Robbins were getting together and recording a podcast. And one of the episodes we did was me and him talking about the Switch. Rumors, and the Switch had been announced, and
whoa, this is lore I don't think I'm privy to.
Yeah, we were doing it was an NPR show. Was like how, and then one of us, we would play characters and interview each other.
Whoa,
was sort of the premise of it, which is a cool premise. It was a little, I can't remember why we didn't stick with it, but I remember like on podcast, because the Wii U had stunk so bad that I remember on this podcast being like, Nintendo's done, man. I don't think this Switch is not going to be good. And Alec being like, I think it's going to be really good. Like, I think they're coming back. Alec was a big believer in the Switch, and he was right. Wow. It was obviously, the rest is history. But it was, so I had already started thinking about a video game podcast or doing something with video games or doing something creative with video games before the Switch. But it was really when the Switch launched, playing through Mario Odyssey, that I just started, it was so inspirational too, thinking about all of the different episodes we could do of a comedy show if we sat down and did it. And I think it's no mistake that my first episode of Video Games, a Comedy Show, I do is about Mario's hats.
Yes. That might even be the title.
I think it's just called Mario's Hats, and it's almost certain it got stuck in my brain to do an episode like this because of Mario Odyssey, because of all of the hat stuff.
100%. That's so great. Do you remember did you guys even release these episodes of this mysterious podcast? No, we didn't. And I bet I could dig them up. It'd be so crazy to dig those up and put those out. Wow. I'd have to get Alex's consent. I'd have to send him over. Be like, hey, man, do you... This is you 10 years ago. Not to be someone who always pitches this to essentially my business partner, but like you could throw those on the Patreon behind a
Hey, yeah, that would be so sick. I wonder, oh, man. Yeah, I might look into that. But anyways, they never were publicly released.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. I love hearing about your early, the seeds being planted for Video Games, a Comedy Show, but this excitement that starts to really bubble up about video games again for you. I had a very similar experience around the Switch's launch. I've probably told you before, but I was always casually playing games, kind of like how you described. Mostly games I had already played before, like replaying my favorite Zeldas or someone letting me borrow Destiny and me playing that solo as much of the campaign as I could. But it was when the first trailer for the Nintendo Switch came out, I watched that thing and I just knew it was for me. And I knew I had to have it. And I was feverishly excited about it. And through that and totally embracing it when it came out, and then, me being much more of a gamer when you and I started to collaborate and you started to invite me on your show, everything was starting to sort of change. And by the time I'm on your show, you're already also in that sort of full swing. So it's cool how to make your episode about me is how we were both experiencing these sort of changes and new waves of gaming that I don't know if either of us knew how heavy they were going to stick around, because now we have essentially like made part of our careers around discussing video games.
Well, and it's like, I just remember thinking like, this is the best video games have ever been, and it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah.
And that's not really how it works. It wasn't exactly true. Like, this was a particularly high watermark for video games. And but I just remember thinking while playing this game, while playing Breath of the Wild, while experiencing Celeste and games like early indie games on the Switch, I just remember thinking like the excitement was feverish around games. So yeah, and this game, I think even more than Breath of the Wild for me, exemplifies that. And and in my memory looms just that much larger. And I think it's probably because Breath of the Wild is in some ways more like some other games than Mario Odyssey is like other games. Mario Odyssey is less like other games than Breath of the Wild. I mean, more like Ubisoft games, open world games, or Souls games, or whatever.
Or a Skyrim.
Breath of the Wild shares some things in common. They don't ever. These aren't in competition with one another. It's not like you have to rank them.
Yeah.
But I only note that because Breath of the Wild does rule the conversation around this. It dominates the conversation around this year on this console. as far as being number one. And while I agree that it is a masterpiece, for me, this was a more joyful experience.
Yes, it's beautiful. I think you do make a really good point, though, in if I can distill it a bit in talking about how this game is also a little more unique, and it's not like we've never seen a 3D platformer before, but I don't think we've ever seen one this good, and also the genre is so much less dense than action-adventure games or open-world titles. People still make these. I might even be recommending a couple of them to you later.
Ooh!
But it is really, I mean, with the exception of Astrobot a couple of years ago, I don't think we see this high of a watermark in this genre area as often as we do maybe other games. Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, they're more rare, no pun intended.
Nice.
Obviously, these games, 3D platformers, I mean, used to dominate the video game landscape back in the 90s, but that changed in the 2000s and then became very rare. If you'd get one or two good ones a year, and then some years you'd get none at all. Whereas, you were getting Sword and Shield games. You get those. Those are never. You're never hurting for those.
Jared.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to ask a little bit more about this sort of time in your life when Odyssey showed up, and I know what that apartment was like. You already sort of described it for the listener, but where would you play the Switch at your old apartment, and can you scene paint the room for me, whether it's the living room or your bedroom or what have you?
My bedroom was like my haven. It was like this little oasis. I had moved out to LA with like not very much money, very kind of quickly and stupidly, I might say, and looking back was very dangerous actually that I did that, but I eventually landed on my feet, and I had like a queen size bed that I bought off Amazon, mattress bought off Amazon.
Awesome.
little end table that I would set my cups on, bought at IKEA. I had like my IKEA entertainment center, and the one thing that I splurged on was like a pretty nice Sony 4K television.
Nice.
From Best Buy, from the Best Buy that we frequent
really?
in Los Feliz.
Okay.
And yeah, I made payments on. I remember like I bought it on a Best Buy credit card. I made payments on it, and I just felt like I was starting over, and like that had officially started. Like starting over had started, and I was so. Yeah, this room, like the rest of my apartment was sort of trashed, right? Like my roommate was sleeping in the living room and was also like struggling, had some mental health issues and was struggling. So he was like a West Hollywood dancer, and he would go dance out in West Hollywood, and he would
all of his allies are getting stat boosts and getting to do multiple turns in the turn-based battle system.
That's a Fire Emblem Awakening joke, folks. He would then come home, and like he would just go to like I hit up like a 7-Eleven on the way home and just buy like a huge bag of candy, and he would eat all the candy when he would get home, and there'd be wrappers all over the floor. No. So you'd open the door and just be like covered in trash, and he'd be like covered in chocolate and stuff.
Oh my god! At least you thought it was.
Yeah, at least I thought it was chocolate. And then like our kitchen was pretty clean, our bathroom was pretty clean, but the living room just wasn't like a place that you could go. So if I had company over, which was not very often, you came over maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that I had people visit a couple times, but we would make a beeline for my room, and my room was set up more or less like a recognizable space that people could hang out with, and there was like a chair and stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was. But yeah, my room was like it had a bookshelf. It's just very sparse, but like very mine. Everything in there mine, and all how I wanted it, and just so.
What do you remember about this time in your life? You talked about how you recently like had a job that was able to sustain you, and you were able to build yourself back up financially. What else were you doing? Like, what were things that filled your life? It feels weird to ask you this because I was kind of a part of it loosely, but not in the way that I am today.
Well, again, people who are fans of my show or this show might know that Connor and I also dabble in comedy outside of talking about video games. And we met at a theater in Los Angeles called the UCB Theater. Moving to LA was really difficult. I didn't really have friends. I didn't really know anybody. I knew a couple people, but like I didn't want to hang out with them. You know what I mean? There was like it was like I knew a couple people, but like it's like they're not like cool though. They're like people I want to hang out with. So it was this like really weird time of like trying to build a community, and looking back, I just got so many breaks, like not big breaks obviously, but little things that were so helpful. And one of the things I got was the work study at UCB. So work study was get this folks, an internship quote unquote program where you could work at the theater for no money, but they gave you free classes. Up to I think it was six free classes, which amounts to like dollar wise, like back then I think classes were, how much do you think classes were?
I think they were approaching 400.
Approaching 400.
They weren't quite there. Now they're way more. But
now they're way more. Yeah. But I that was a big deal because I didn't have a lot of money out here. I was working at a job remotely from Texas when I first moved out here. So, and that job was paying me like Texas money, which is not the same as LA money. Yeah, it's really sticky. It's really disgusting Texas oil money. And so I was barely scraping by. So it was amazing that not only did I not have to pay for classes where I could go meet people and do comedy and pursue my dream, but I was also had to go to a place and work and like clean toilets and stuff with other people, where I met some very close friends that I've kept forever, like Ben Castle, for example.
Yeah.
Somebody I met back then. That was such a honestly, for maybe being loosely exploited, I had a great time because it was like finally a place in LA that expected me to be there. like I can't tell you what it does to your mental health when you realize that nobody's expecting you to be anywhere. Like nobody wants you anywhere. Nobody's waiting for you. Like you don't exist, So it was nice that I had like an engagement. Oh, I have to go to my thing.
Yes.
At a time, and or they'll be mad, So that was great, and then slowly but surely, obviously things get built from there. But back then, it was pretty much I was doing my UCB thing.
Okay.
And I was going home and playing video games and like kind of resting and reading and watching Stranger Things or whatever show was just coming out at the time.
I think season 2 was that fall.
Yes.
I think I remember so much about this time because it was also kind of a pivotal moment in my life. But we would have that September, so before you would have gotten your Switch, we made their short film with our mutual friend Eric. Eric wrote and directed a short film, or wrote it, and then some friends directed it, but we were in with other previous guests of the show, Victoria Longwell. And around that time, you also auditioned for and were placed on a mess hall team at UCB that same fall.
Yeah, and I think that was, you had done it
I was coming off of it, yes.
You were coming off it and I was going on it.
Yes.
And this was before Buster's, because Buster's your second one,
Buster's
or is that
was
your
the
only
one? So it was right. That was just coming into that audition season. Was when that was.
So if I move out here in 2016, then it takes me a year and a half to make a team at UCB, which is
not very long.
Not very long. So at that point, I remember thinking I'm making good time.
Yes,
because I moved out here a little later. I was like 28 or 29 when I moved out here. So I was almost 30 starting my LA journey. So that, when you're in that position, you're kind of thinking, oh, I got to make up for lost time. I got to move quicker than a person in their early 20s would because they have more time and I have less time. But it's all imaginary, but you know what I mean.
I do. I've felt behind in many times in my life. And so that's maybe a similar thing to what you were feeling.
Yeah. So I get on mess hall in 2017. So that's like an improv team. By the following year, I'm so Video Games and Comedy Show has started at this point. I get on a mod team, which is the sketch writing team. And now, 10 years after moving to LA, I'm directing a mod team. So I've gone from nothing to writing to directing now.
Yeah, and directing Sketch as well.
Sketch as well, and yeah, which is
and
their
now you're also in cinema school.
And I'm also in cinema school, and I'm married to somebody who lives out here. So a lot is in a decade. Obviously, so much has taken place and happened, but those early years are defined by figuring stuff out, starting my life up, starting it over, building a community, taking 301 where I meet Eric Koppel, which is how I know you, was through Eric, and playing the Nintendo Switch, which has been there almost the entire time.
Yes, it'll be 10 years old next year, which is
that's
just gross.
That's so brutal.
It's terrible. I remember this Switch, the Friday that it launched, and I like I was telling you, I had it pre-ordered. I just finished 401. It was like my third 401. And
man.
And which, like, to be fair, and when it comes to UCB and the classes, if people aren't familiar, once you reach 401, which is the last level of the regular improv curriculum, you had to get a stamp of approval by an instructor to say that you were ready for advanced courses, and which also I think was the requirement to audition for these teams, I think. And I didn't get it either of my first two times. First time I definitely shouldn't have. I made strides, but I shouldn't have. The second time was egregious that I wasn't in. And the third time, it was like a foregone conclusion. And I remember having a class show that Sunday after it came out and having just an excellent show. And then the next week auditioned for mess hall and getting on. So for me at the same time, Jeremy, it was all like little breaks were starting to happen.
Yeah.
And little strokes of luck, and also just helpful people looking out for me. So
did you do work study too at some point? I feel like you did, right?
I did. I basically was like January through November of 2016. So it was like 11 full months, almost every Sunday night at Franklin.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is not lost on me how we just have some similar paths and journeys that we took.
Oh yeah, and again, and we're not even necessarily super unique in that way. That
correct.
A lot of people take this same path, and you definitely feel, or at least you felt at the time, and I still do feel looking back, a camaraderie with those folks of all sharing virtually the same type of dream. Especially in the smaller short-term dreams of wanting to get on a Herald team, wanting to perform for those audiences, thinking that the UCB and just the general greater acting and improv in LA was so cool. The theater scene was so cool. Yeah. So looking back, it's we were all doing the same stuff, and people are still doing that today. It's not that different, but it is.
We're just in different season of our lives and our relationships, both with it.
Yes, and and the times have changed since we were trying, and one might argue that maybe there was a bubble that has burst, and maybe it's grown again and burst again. Maybe it's burst twice since we've been around, but it's Yeah, but looking back on that time, it just feels like, when others look back at their undergrad, going to college, it feels very similar to that. It's like, oh, it was hard, but it was awesome.
Yes. Great comparison. Before I have you wrap up your thoughts and feelings about the game, is there anything else from the time in your life when Super Mario Odyssey hit you, or the game itself, that you want to talk about today?
Oh man,
And it's a pretty big question, but it's kind of like, are there any last details that you're like, oh, I really want to make sure I talk about this today?
I guess just like back to video games and game design, and specifically when we think of creativity within video games, you know, there's something about Mario Odyssey I think that looms larger than any of the other 3D Marios in the ways that it surprises you throughout its runtime. You know, like I think specifically, if we want to just take like one example, which is like I want to find what the name of the kingdom is, but I think it's called the Lost. No, not the Lost Kingdom. What is the kingdom that has the? Oh, it is Is it the Lost Kingdom? The one that has the dragon.
Oh, I don't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
So in the game, in the video game Mario Odyssey, there is a world devoted to this really bizarre moment where you fight a big dragon, and despite even having seen a Tyrannosaurus Rex earlier in the game, you're not really prepared to see this dragon, and to have to fight this dragon. The dragon's design is so outside of like what I feel like the design book for any Mario game would have ever been. This dragon belongs in something more like a Capcom game or a Skyrim or something. It's a very serious and scary looking dragon.
Yes.
It's not like Dragonite style cartoony dragon vibes. This thing is a freaking monster, and it's just one of the many ways that the game completely zigs when you think it's going to zag, like completely goes off on a tangent that some people have actually criticized this game for not feeling cohesive in its like art direction. Whereas I find that it's more like its lack of cohesion would be a knock against the game if it wasn't so bold and brave with its directions that it takes you in. Some of the worlds are very Mario-esque in the way
Big
that
time.
they work. You know, like a lot of the water stage and the snow kingdoms and stuff. But some of them are very bizarre, like this dragon stage that don't exist anywhere else in any of the Mariology that you can look back at, that really feel and that are completely unique to this game. Almost like Mario is going through different dimensions, like warping into different games almost.
It really feels like that at several moments.
Yeah, and to me, it was a check that Nintendo hasn't really cashed since, in my opinion, in that, like, if you look at other games in their various franchises, a lot of them do feel very like cohesive within themselves. They don't feel like they're taking as many big swings, especially aesthetically, as they do in this game. That feels like they're just like plopping Mario into photorealism randomly, and then suddenly like not at all, and I think that's a big part of the game's strength, and a big part of the game of Nintendo's promise of some sort of age of a creative level we've never seen before, that that again is not really fulfilled, but it led to a lot of excitement for me. Was like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know what I'm going to see next in this game. And what a thrill that is.
Absolutely. I remember experiencing such similar feelings too. I also remember it felt like such a celebration of Mario in general, whether it be from homages in the game or little costumes you get. And by the way, Jeremy, the kingdom you're thinking of is called the Ruined Kingdom.
Ah, the Ruined Kingdom. Ooh, my liege, the Ruined Kingdom.
It's ruined. Well, to close this out, Jeremy, if you can you put in a statement what place Super Mario Odyssey holds for you?
Place, like number 1 or 2 or 3?
I am hoping for a numerical assignment, and not necessarily the feelings or things that it elicits for you in your life.
I would rank this game incredibly high. I think I've talked about this before too. Where like when it comes down to it, I'm actually more of a basic B than I think I am when it comes to video games. Like when people like do lists, some of my friends are like really creative and out there with like what ends up on these top lists. But for me, I think Mario Odyssey, it's got to be like number 4 or 5 of all time. I mean, it's
I
like
actually did want for you to represent your thoughts and feelings about the game in like a thesis sentence, sort of.
But
I love
okay.
that you started actually naming the numbers.
I know. I was like, I guess I can rank it.
And of course, between that and all games ever.
I took you totally seriously. Okay, wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. So you wanted me to give like a thesis on
I
the
want
game?
but the thesis on what it represents in your life. Kind of wrapping up all the things you just shared with me.
Yeah. It represents newness. That's what Mario Odyssey represents to me. And to this day, it still represents that to me. I think it represents newness in that this is a new experience that you haven't really experienced before. And video games are capable of this. Everything is not a regurgitation. Everything is not always going to be an iteration. That video games can sometimes allow you to experience a brand new kind of thing that you've never done before. That's what this game represents to me.
Fantastic. Well, we got a couple more things to do while we're here, but Jeremy, thank you so much for bringing on Super Mario Odyssey to discuss it. This was great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Cappy forever.
Cappy forever. And remember, he's got like a sister or a girlfriend or something like that? Whatever that thing is.
Yeah. That was, and remember that whole part where they just made out?
Oh, I remember it. I've got it saved on my computer. Well, Jeremy, I've got 2 fun segments to close out the podcast with. The first of which is the Fact Me by Your Game segment, and that's where I'm just going to share one fun fact with you about Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh!
So this comes from Did You Know Gaming's video dedicated to just this game, Super Mario Odyssey. I will put a link in the show notes so that any listeners who like this fact and want to watch the whole video to find more can. But Jeremy, did you know that when creating the music for the Luncheon Kingdom, the game's musicians used cooking utensils to make some of the sounds?
Really?
They did. Some chops and clangs are the sounds of knives and ladles helping cement the level's theme of cooking. Now, isn't that fun?
That's pretty good. That's pretty fun, actually.
It really does make me think of like behind-the-scenes footage or extra footage you see on movies where they're like, here are the Foley sound guys doing their thing. But in this case, it's musicians.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool, actually. How funny would it be if, by the way, you were watching one of those featurettes and it's like, yeah, and then this is the part where James Bond breaks this guy's neck, and here's how he did it in Foley, and then there's just a guy in a chair, and then like break his neck.
Like just cut away real quick.
Just like the Foley is just another guy getting his neck broken.
They're like, gosh, that one didn't quite have the intensity of the sound we wanted.
Use celery. Just use celery.
Yeah.
Just a heap of dead bodies.
Yeah, just like it was worth it. Jeremy, I just put the video in the chat. You can watch that another time. I'll also put it again in the episode citations for the podcast. Lastly, we've got to get into the game recommendations. Now, Jeremy, as you know, this segment is my one forced tie-in to the movie Call Me by Your Name, where I'm going to treat Super Mario Odyssey as your passionate summer fling, this special moment in your life that you are now heartbroken over. The romance didn't work out. It wasn't eternal. Mm-hmm. And in order to help you get over this deep heartbreak, I have prepared 3 new game recommendations for you that hopefully can just elicit any similar feelings and just to get you back on the dating scene. So I need to know from you before I recommend any of these, are you ready to put yourself back out there?
Oh, I think it would be wise if I did.
I love it. That's all I needed to hear. I've got 3 for you today. Jeremy, if what you took away from this is it's just a 3D platformer. We were talking about this earlier. You're like, I need a new one. I need a good one. And I also want one that, like this, has big hops. I'll recommend to you the new 3D platformer titled Big Hops.
Okay,
do you know about this game?
Never heard
Let me
of
show you.
this
Oh my
game.
gosh,
Hey,
dude, I've got a link right here. I'll send it to you in
congrats.
chat. This is a link for a trailer for the game. You play as a frog. You use your tongue to swing off of stuff and bounce. You also bounce really high. It got pretty warm reception when it came out earlier this year. It's also the second time I've recommended it to someone because someone did a frog-specific game. Yes.
Have you played Big Hops?
I haven't touched it, but I've been thinking about it ever since it crossed my eyes.
Dang, it's even got some Breath of the Wild in there, too, with your stamina meter.
Climbing on walls and crap
Climbing
like
on
that.
walls, yeah. Wow, this looks... Man, Big Hops looks like it goes...
Big.
Pretty big, yeah.
So that's the first recommendation. Now, we kind of didn't really touch on the fact, I mean, you talked about it because of the first episode of Video Games, a Comedy Show, but how this game has seemingly countless costumes and hats for Mario to put on.
Yes.
It's almost, some people might even be overwhelmed by the options. And Jeremy, if that happened to be you, I'll recommend a game because you're more of a one hat kind of guy.
Ooh.
I'll recommend another 3D platformer. I think you are aware of this one. This is A Hat in Time.
Yes, absolutely. And I have played some of this.
Oh, what did you think? It's a McCaller favorite as far as I know.
It is amazing. And honestly, one that I need to go back to. I need to go back and finish. I've always intended to finish A Hat in Time, and but I keep forgetting about it.
Okay, well, I guess you'll have to keep it in mind. Again, I wouldn't have picked this game if it was called A Hats in Time or Hats in Time, but it's one hat.
Yeah, and I think I can handle one hat. Hey, if I can handle more than one hat, I can handle one hat.
You definitely can. For your final recommendation, is if you were disappointed that this game doesn't end in a wedding. Bowser doesn't marry Peach. Mario doesn't marry Peach, despite them all having specific wedding costumes and wedding costume amiibos.
Whoa.
Jeremy, if you need a game that's got to end in a wedding, I'll recommend to you a little video game called Dream Day Wedding Viva Las Vegas.
Okay. See, and I actually got married in real Las Vegas, so
I did keep that in mind when I discovered this game, and it's for you.
Dream Day Wedding.
I got a little video for you in chat if you want for some
Viva
gameplay.
Las Vegas.
So this is like a computer game. Really feels like it's from like the late 90s, early 2000s, where it's a lot of hidden object stuff, a lot of just clicking on things while you're in Vegas to like choose specific perfumes and clothes and stuff for your wedding. So this might just be the perfect one for you.
This is the perfect one for me. Thank you for thinking of me, and thanks for recommending these to me.
You're welcome. Just to finish the segment, I'll recap the 3 recommendations once again. We've got Big Hops, A Hat in Time, and Dream Day Wedding, Viva Las Vegas. Jeremy,
Cha-ching.
That'll do it for the end of the segment, and that'll bring us to the end of the show. So once again, buddy, thank you so much for taking the time to return to the podcast for your second solo episode. It goes without saying, man, I couldn't do this show without you. You're a huge part of it. And, me guesting on your show all those years ago was the reason why I got inspired to do my own. So, buddy, thanks for doing this. I appreciate you being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It was good to be back.
What do you want to plug on your way out? Could it be something that you maybe plugged earlier?
Yeah, Video Games, a Comedy Show is a podcast that I do, and you can listen to it anywhere podcasts can be found.
Wonderful. I'll put a link to your podcast and all of this other stuff that I'm about to say in a link below, including the cover art for Call Me By Your Game, which is done by the artist Glenn J. You can find him and his other great work on Instagram at glenn.jay. This show is produced, edited, and the original music you hear throughout is done by the guy we were just talking to, Jeremy Schmidt. Listen to his podcast, Video Games, a Comedy Show. You can also follow Call Me By Your Game on Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube, where I post a video episode of every single new episode the same day that these come out. So if you want to see double the handsome, and because you like hearing the handsome, go and give us a subscription there. We're at last I checked, 149 YouTube subscribers. Get us over the hump. If you're listening now and you don't subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, go do that. You never even have to watch the videos as far as I'm concerned, but go watch.
Get us
go
to
subscribe.
150. Come on.
You can also follow me on Blue Sky if you'd like to. And then last but not least, our Patreon, patreon.com/supernpcradio. If you're looking to support this podcast, the most helpful thing you can do besides sharing it with a friend is subscribing to us on Patreon. You can support us at any tier you want. You get different bonuses depending on the tier. The higher up you go on the dollar donation, the more podcasts you get for that. You can even subscribe at the free tier where there you get all of our weekly podcasts in a free feed. So both of Jeremy and I's shows you get there without ads. You also get an access to the Discord, which you can have conversations with some sweet, like-minded people there. And again, if you want to support us at the $2, $5, $10, or dollar tiers or up, you get additional bonus podcasts. I do an episode of this show almost every single month that is a Patreon exclusive for the $10 supporters called the Co-op series. This year we've covered Night in the Woods. We've covered Me and My Katamari. And coming in April, Jeremy's going to be on this one. We're covering Banjo-Kazooie. Check it out there on Patreon. That'll do it for another episode of Call Me By Your Game. We will see you on the next one.